Good evening, everybody. So today's Nishta class, we will begin as usual with our Shanti Mantra, Mangala Charanam. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryang Karavavahe, Tejasvinavadhe Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tatsate. Last class, we talked about contentment, happiness, and all that. So, continuing on that, I thought it will be useful to have a brief discussion on how we understand happiness in our Shastra, in the scriptures, because the experience of happiness is something that all of us, irrespective of our background, we can spontaneously relate with. It is so universal, it extends across species. It's not just human beings, it also extends across all the species. From what we understand, they say general understanding that animals do not have a choice over their happiness. So they cannot do anything about it. You have a happy puppy or a sad puppy. So unless the experiences that the animal goes through, that takes care of the brain chemistry, when its needs are met, when it is cared for, etc., etc., that animal feels good. There is a constant, there is absence of stress, and there is sometimes a delight. So whenever there is an association with the object that provides comfort, the animal gets excited. There is an excitement. For example, I know a house where they have a dog. So this person takes the dog to the beach on a jeep. This fellow has a jeep just for having some, like a collector's item. He has one old jeep. So that jeep is used mainly for taking this dog to the beach. So this dog has associated the jeep with going to beach. It's conditioning, they say. So during a simple conversation, even by randomly, if somebody says the word jeep, the dog gets excited, starts wow wow and all that, and whacking its tail and everything, and going in circles, and gets very excited about, it goes on. And then when the jeep comes, it sees the jeep, it goes to the next level, and then it jumps on the jeep and it's ready to go and it's happy. It's quiet until it jumps on the jeep. It's not quiet. And also, you have to go to the beach. If you go in the jeep to the next street and come back, then it's not a problem. Then the next desire starts. So you go to the beach, let it run for a little bit, and somehow convince the dog to come back home, and they come back home, right? It's a simple thing. Like this, you can see a lot of, the hearing about, getting to know about the possibility of a happy experience, pleasurable experience, comfortable experience, is one level of happiness. Then you know that you are progressing towards attaining that experience. You are moving, you are feeling that you are moving in a direction towards that experience. Then you are experiencing that object of pleasure, you have arrived at that state. So there are these three grades of happiness. Generally, it's universal. The words, they use the words priya, moda, pramoda. This is what the Shastra talks about. So even when the description for Anandamaya Kosha, etc., comes in Vedanta Prakarana texts, it talks about the Anandamaya Kosha is called as Priyadi Vritti Sahita. It's along with the various modifications of experiences called Priya, etc., means Priya, Moda, Pramoda. Even in Taittiriya Upanishad, in Anandavalli, when it talks about the five koshas, it talks about Anandamaya Kosha, no, uh, प्रियम प्रियम उत्तर पक्षः मोदो दक्षिण पक्षः प्रियमेव शिरः मोदो दक्षिण पक्षः प्रमोदो उत्तर पक्षः, like that it comes, so this these three words come in the Veda also. So the three levels of happiness, basically, this is universal. Now all this vichara, all this analysis about happiness, only we are doing, the humans. Animals don't do it because they don't have a choice. They are in a, they are either happy or they are not happy, and they try to do, in the sense, they can do things to grab the object. For example, if there is a toy and there are two dogs and you throw the toy, both the dogs want the toy, so the more powerful dog overpowers the less powerful dog and gets the toy. The same thing applies to monkeys, and it gets more complicated. And when it comes to humans, when it comes to human relationships, jealousy, all that comes. No, jealousy is so universal. You can see that even in animals. So, acquiring the situation, I am saying situation so that it is broad spectrum. It is it includes objects, relationships, people's achievements, everything. So, arriving at the situation where I have got what I wanted, whatever experience I have associated with the experience of joy or happiness or contentment, I have arrived at it. I have obtained that experience, right? So, whatever I need to arrive at that experience, whatever I need to acquire that object or acquire that situation or arrive at that situation, whatever I need to do, I am driven to do that, and I cannot relax until I get that. I want it, I get it, right? It's the same. It's the same for animals and same for humans. We have more sophisticated ways of getting it because we have more faculties that we can employ, all the intelligence and technology and whatnot. So everything basically serves gratification. Arriving at happiness that is dependent on my relationship with things and situations is called Vishaya Ananda, the happiness obtained from things. It is the same for animals and same for humans. Animals don't have a choice. They cannot regulate this drive for happiness. They cannot analyze the truth behind what lies behind this experience of happiness. Animals don't have the discriminative ability to go into the truth of happiness, into the structure of happiness, to go into the chemistry of happiness, or to go into the consciousness structure of happiness and see what makes it possible, and to see the limitation in the cycle of happiness, then again the next drive, the next happiness, again the next drive, the next happiness, again the next drive, trying, struggling, no happiness, then it's sadness. So sometimes there is happiness, sometimes there is sadness. When I get what I want, I'm happy. When I don't get what I want, I am frustrated, I'm sad. When I get what I don't want, then I am sad. When I am not able to get rid of what I don't want, I am sad or frustrated. So this is the pattern of life. Universal. This is universal to all the animals, all the humans, all the devas, all the asuras, everybody. Any individual being, this is what it is. This is at the core of the whole life. Now, if you think about it, all the various ambitions of life are nothing but this. There is a disturbance, there is a restlessness caused by the mapping, the desire for something. Then you arrive at it, then you get it, then for some time you are happy. So when we go and analyze this, we have the question, only us, humans, we ask about this whole, we question the relevance of this whole thing, and we question about a possibility that exists beyond this, right? We see that we are not able to be happy. See, a dog is happy, not happy. That's about it. When it is not happy, it is looking for happiness. When it is happy, it is okay. As long as it goes on happily, it's fine. When the happiness is obstructed, then it again is in a pattern of struggle and tries everything to get back to that through whatever knowledge it has, manipulating the owner or trying to fight with other dogs or going and acquiring or running around, gets restless, right? So that's what an animal can do. But only you and I, only we have, as humans, have the ability to see through this whole cycle. We are able to see through this whole cycle. Hey, hold on. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm not happy. And it is never possible when I look at the life of my own life, others' life, I look at the entire history of humanity. This being completely, totally happy, avoiding the struggle and completely avoiding unhappiness or completely eliminating the possibility of unhappiness has not been possible like this. Because no matter how big I am, no matter how powerful I am, no matter how intelligent and smart I am, it is not possible to be completely free from unhappiness. If my happiness is dependent on things and situations, if my happiness is experiential happiness, what is called as vritti rupa ananda, that is the happiness, the happy experience, which is a state of mind, which is dependent upon certain conditions of my relationship with objects and situations. The objects and situations could be external or internal. Having the dish that you like, having a nice lunch, an example of external happiness. Having a nice jewelry, example of nice external happy, external dependency. Internal dependency, it's very quiet. I remembered a raga. I like a raga, so I sing a raga, and I think about it. Or I am thinking about, I am meditating on the form of the Lord Vishnu, with everything, Chanka Chakra Gada Pani, and my mind is absorbed. Beautiful happiness, yogic happiness, internal happiness, right? So this dependent upon external or internal conditions of the mind, vritti dependent happiness, Vishayananda, right? So I see that it is not possible to maintain it. Okay, if I am smart enough, I can maximize this experiential happiness and minimize the sorrow. How to do that, we will discuss how it is talked about. So this is pravritti. Pravritti means a life that is directed towards having better and better quality of life and better quality of experiences. But a discriminating person sees through the stupidity of this. A person with discrimination, whom we call as viveki, sees through this, the limitation of living like this. He sees, hey, no matter what I try, this happiness, unhappiness alternating, you know, it cannot be avoided. Unhappiness as an experience cannot be avoided. Happiness as an experience in the, happiness as a dependent happiness, the experience of happiness that is dependent on the body mind states and the relationship with objects and situations, that kind of happiness cannot be sustained totally and cannot be acquired without going through the pain of the process that is required to acquire that happiness. I cannot avoid going through the struggle of sustaining that, maintaining the conditions that will sustain my happiness. I cannot avoid losing it. Any experience begins at a point, goes on for some time, and comes to an end no matter how. So, this person with discrimination thinks, constantly changing. See how many variables are involved in this. If I want to have a happy experience, things are constantly changing. The object that I am experiencing, enjoying, is changing. The tools with which I experience the nice object, I have the pleasurable experience. My five senses, my tongue, my hearing, my sight, my touch, all my jnanendriyas, and the faculties with which I can acquire the karmendriyas, all of them are going through change, constant change, and they're going through constant atrophy, right? It's going on. And they get tired, they have their limitations. I have a limited strength. So I see that. A constant change. And all experiences are associated with some kind of anxiety. Will I get it or not? Will I get it or not? What will happen? No, there is going to be some. There is if you in the rainy season, for example, if you put the clothes for drying in the terrace, you don't know when it will rain. It will rain or not. Rain or not. Right? So all it's a billion-dollar industry. Astrology, prediction, predicting what will happen. It's a huge industry because there is everything, anything that you want to acquire is associated with anxiety. So constant change, parinama, then there is anxiety associated with acquiring it, then anxiety associated with losing what you have acquired, and some other disturbance, adhyatmika, adi bhautika, adi daivika. Some disturbance that comes from inside me, some disturbance that comes from my environment, some disturbance that comes from natural causes. Yeah. And it is also dependent upon my ability to enjoy. There is this fruit called durian in Malaysia. Somebody brought this durian from Malaysia. Yeah. So it's supposed to be a big deal there. I don't know. This is like, wow, it's fantastic. This sweet from durian. And they went on and on about it. Now I was curious. And I took a little bit and I almost vomited. It was like, I have never seen something more stinky and such a horrible tasting thing in my life. Now, this is my samskara. I don't have the samskara. I don't have the required inner conditions in terms of my brain chemistry, in terms of my taste buds, in terms of my familiarity or conditioning with what is tasty, all that conditioning, right? It's called samskara. I don't have the correct kind of internal conditioning that is reciprocal, and that allows for an experience of enjoying that thing called durian, that durian fruit based sweet, whatever, that smell and all that. There's also one pickle in our Tamil Nadu. It's very famous. It's called Mahali Kirangu. You can either love it or hate it. There is no in between. No, it's like that. So samskara. Now, even when you like it, at some point of time you like it, you go through a lot of effort to obtain it, and after obtaining it, you lose your mood, you lose your taste, you somehow you are not able to enjoy it. No, it's like marriage. You like the person a lot, then you go through a big discussion in the family and somehow convince your family, you marry the person. After marrying the person, you suddenly see you don't like the person anymore, then both of you are in trouble. So samskara, there is constant change, parinama. Then there is tapa, anxiety associated with acquiring, preserving, and trying not to lose it, and the fear of losing it. Samskara, the inner conditions with which you are able to enjoy an experience, enjoy a vishaya, a thing. Dukkha, because any artificial, any manifest situation, any situation, anything in life, it requires a lot of effort on our part, on others' part, that we if preferably we would like to avoid, if possible we would like to avoid, but we have to go through. Without going through the trouble, we cannot obtain it. If I am not going through, I am paying somebody else to go through the trouble. And if that person goes, like having a maid in the house, you don't like to clean the house, so you employ a maid, but you have to pay the maid. Then you have to work for getting the money that will pay the maid. And to get the money, whatever work you are doing, you may not like. If you keep on doing the same work, most people don't like their work. It's very, very rarely you see somebody who is aligned, whose passion and work is aligned. It goes on for some time, so they're lucky enough for that. But they have problem in other side, other things. So the moment there is a deadline, then you don't like it. If there is a possibility, everybody would like to have $1 billion in bank and not work, and then do only things that they like, only things that they find meaningful and passionate about. But unfortunately, that is not possible for all, right? So dukkha, parinama, tapa, samskara, dukkha. Guna, the qualities are sattva, rajas, tamas. So here the experience of happiness is associated with the guna called sattva, sattva guna, right? The three qualities are modes of nature. You can read about it. It's a very fundamental idea in our Vedanta and yoga. This happiness experience is associated with sattva. So if you want stable, lasting happiness, it is directly proportional to the amount of sattva, to the extent there is sattva in a given situation, in a given context. If there is no sattva at all, then you will not be conscious, because it is not enough to have the right conditions. You should also be conscious to enjoy the condition, and that being conscious is connected with sattva. And stability and long lasting experience is related to sattva. So sattva guna is directly connected with happiness, right? Tamo guna is connected with ignorance, inertia, lack of awareness, pain, suffering. All of that comes under depression. Everything comes under tamo guna. Activity, restlessness comes under rajoguna. No? So if there is too much rajas, you will not be able to enjoy a given experience, even though if you have the right situation to enjoy, right state of mind, you have the right samskara to enjoy, there is no anxiety, everything is good, but you are restless. Rajoguna is dominant. Then you will not be able to apply yourself to that experience and enjoy that experience. There are some people who cannot just enjoy. When they're doing something, they'll start talking about it. Or there is this, for example, this Instagramming. There are these people, you put a right nice food in front of them, they cannot eat. They want to eat, but they have to take a photo and put it in their Instagram and talk about it, and then all that presentation and everything. By the time the food is already cold, that freshness is gone. It happens many times. Maybe some are smart enough to have it at the right time, but just an example I'm just telling. So this rajo guna of presenting oneself and this self expression in social media is rajoguna. It interferes in the enjoyable experience of food, and they not only spoil their experience, they also irritate everybody around them by taking pictures of food. If somebody else is not in the mood to, they are in the mood to eat, they have to wait till this fellow has finished taking pictures. So this is one. This is the rajoguna disrupting a nice experience because you are restless about something else. Then tamoguna, you are lazy and indolent, and so you are always trying to find shortcuts. That's an example of tamoguna. Tamoguna will always try. A tamoguna buddhi will not respect dharma in the process of acquiring an enjoyment. So if you want to enjoy something, I want to enjoy it by hook or crook. They say, this by hook or crook is tamasic buddhi. That is not respecting the dharma, the due process, the due ethical considerations that are involved in acquiring, preserving, and enjoying that experience. Tamas. So guna plays a big role in enjoyment. So and these gunas are constantly changing. You don't know which guna will dominate the other when, because usually a normal person does not have a huge control over the gunas are driving the mind, the gunas are driving the ego. So you don't know which guna will dominate when. So, and everything is dependent on the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. The sattva, rajas, and tamas in you, in the people around, in the things around, in the situations, climate, everywhere. So guna, parinama, tapa, samskara, dukha, guna. Then vritti virodha, they say. Vritti virodha means contrary. I want it, but I don't want it. An example, I want it, but I'm not sure if I can have it. Maybe I should have that. I want this also, I want that also, but I cannot have both. They did a fantastic experiment in psychology where they found the people who have more choices, the people who are given more choices in a given situation, they always end up being less satisfied. Those who have less choices or no choice, when you are put in a choiceless situation, they found that the ability of them to enjoy happiness is more when they don't have choice. They are forced to live with what is given, but they somehow find a way to be happy. But if you give them more choices, they found that their happiness quotient is less. It's a psychological experiment. You can see happiness quotient and choices. If you Google, you will see some experiments. They did a real clinical research and they found more choices leads to less happiness. This is because of vritti virodha. I have it, maybe it would have been better if I had had that. It's like people who have constantly keep changing relationships, which is currently this dating culture we have. We are constantly looking for something better, better, better. So after you get bored with one person, you start comparing with another person. That person was like that. It would have been better with when in a given situation. Oh, if that guy was here, it would have been better rather than this person. Like that. So because situations are constantly changing, and you are always wishing for something else than what you have, and you are always conflicted with respect to the same thing. I want this, and I also don't want this. Yeah? So some ethical dilemma, so all kinds of things, right? So this is vritti virodha. So because of all these reasons are unavoidable. When we come to experiences in life, one or more or all of these reasons are unavoidable. Experience of life, I mean the experience of life on earth and also in heaven. One or more or all of these variables are going to interfere in your happy experience. They are influencing the happy experience. So, because of that, the happy experience is constantly subject to a challenge. Seeing this fact, a person with discrimination, with viveka, a person who is able to realistically analyze and understand things as they are, a viveki, sees experiential happiness across all experiences as dukkha, as sorrow, as pain. Even a happy experience is pain because of all the struggles and the problems associated with it. We have discussed it before, you know. So in Yoga Shastra, it says Dukkhameva Sarvam Vivekinaha. But when we read that, it sounds like, what man, what a depressing text, So a person with Viveka is basically depressed. It's not like that. It appears like that. A person with Viveka is a pessimist, is a depressed guy. He cannot see the light in anything. He's going to see only defects everywhere. No, it's not like that. It is a sign of the heightened intelligence will see through the limitations in every experience. So, because the person with Viveka is able to see through that, and this is possible only for human beings. That's what Shastra says. We don't know. We are taking this from Shastra. So I don't know. I'm not conscious of how a dog feels and how a cat feels or a monkey feels. We don't know that. But we are assuming that generally that is what they say. Only human being is capable of discrimination is there in Shastra. So we just take it like that. There is no proof. And that is why they say among all the births, the human birth is very blessed. It's very rare and it's very important because I can do something about this pattern. Because I can do something about my understanding of happiness and I can try to explore a different possibility, a possibility of happiness that is not conditional, a possibility of happiness that is not dependent on my sense experiences. Yeah, see, if I need to be happy, by acquiring something, if my happiness is dependent on a person, thing, or a situation, then I have to take control of all the variables that control my relationship with that. That's what we saw until now. And it is impossible to do that. No matter how great you are, it is impossible to do that and sustain it. Even if you are able to sustain everything around you, your own mind, you cannot sustain, it is going to change. And the very experience of employing our senses and mind to relate with an object uses up our fuel called prana, and it is dependent on the tissues and the cells and all the organs of our body and mind, and they are all sustained by prana. And when I'm spending prana, I am going to get exhausted. That is why we have this thing, they talk about diminishing marginal utility. I heard about this, all these commerce students study that. I have one sweet now. Oh, very nice. Second bite, not so nice. Third bite, not so nice. Fourth bite, oh my God, don't give me more, I will puke. Right? Why? Because the sense faculty got tired. Parinama, one of the things I told you, right? So these things are unavoidable. These are laws of nature. It's like physics. It's laws of nature. You cannot avoid it. No matter how great you are, it's not possible. Maybe you can have a specific prakriti, a state of body that is capable, or you can enhance certain abilities in you through some practices to increase a certain type of pleasure. You can prolong it, but it cannot last forever. And when you are doing it, prolonging it for a long time, then you will have to struggle to keep all the control switches on. And to keep those control switches on, you have to make other sacrifices, which may be disappointing. No, it's you can never escape. The struggle and dissatisfaction is inescapable. So when we have the viveka, we understand the inherent limitation in Vishayananda. So inherent limitation in my pursuit of happiness that is dependent on the body, mind, external things and situations. So I am looking for a way to discover something that is lasting, something that is not within the realm of struggle. So that's when, and then I see that, I am stuck with this, and how to become free of this. How to become free of this? Then that is where the Shastra comes and tells you that the one who realizes his true nature, his true self, will rise beyond struggle and suffering, will obtain the highest happiness. There is, in different ways they say it. In one angle, they say you will be free from shoka, from sorrow. What is sorrow? Going through the process of struggle to obtain and sustain what makes me happy. That is sorrow. And the loss of happiness, sorrow. So, this whole process of becoming, struggling in time to arrive at something in time that is lost in time. This is shoka, this is sorrow. So, tarati shokam atmavite, the one who knows the self, crosses this pattern of sorrow, ocean of sorrow. This is called ocean of sorrow because of the way it is. So if I have discrimination in me, if I have viveka in me, I will recognize this inherent limitation. Then I look for a possibility that is free from all this limitation. Does that such a possibility exist? That's where the Shastra gives us the green signal. It says, it gives us a relief. It says that yes, it exists. The one who Brahma vidapnoti param, the one who knows Brahman attains the highest. And then he talks about different grades of, in Taittiriya Upanishad, he talks about different grades of experiential happiness. Different grades of experiential happiness that is based on external situations and ownership, etc. Then it based on internal conditions of one's own body, mind conditions, etc. And in that gradation, you see how one's own body mind status is superior to happiness that is dependent upon external conditions. That also, even within the realm of experiential happiness, there is a higher importance, there is a higher grade given to the happiness that is dependent upon one's body mind conditions, one's own prakriti, than one's own possessions. So, and then everywhere it says, even as an experiential level, the one who is contented and one who is knowledgeable in the truth, and one who is contented and one who lives according to dharma, that person will enjoy the same happiness this other guy enjoys. There is a Deva Gandharva, the joy that Deva Gandharva enjoys. This one who is a Shrotriya, one who is well read in the scriptures, and one who is living according to dharma, and one who is free from desire, he will enjoy. Talking about a sattvic mind. A person with a predominantly sattvic mind enjoys the happiness that is enjoyed by all the beings in all the levels. And then finally it arrives at that supreme happiness, which is one's own true nature. He says it is beyond words, it cannot be expressed and all that. Right? So it comes in Taittiriya Upanishad, Anandavalli. You can read it, it's available. A lot of lectures are available. Yeah? So I don't want to go into that in detail, just giving a pointer. So we have all these things. So when we understand spiritually, when I want to understand happiness, it's because the whole inquiry into the nature of happiness is because I recognize the limitation in materialistic happiness. Materialistic happiness means the happiness that is dependent upon body, mind, external conditions, situations, and people and objects. That is material happiness. And there are different levels and kinds of material happiness. So, even spiritual happiness, in the sense of arriving at a spiritual experience for which I have to work up myself, or I have to spend energy and time, and then I have to wait, and then after a certain conditions are satisfied, I arrive at it, and it is an experiential happiness, either in this life, in my body, or after I die in heaven. That spiritual, that is, means arriving at that experience using spiritual tech, like rituals and mantras and yoga techniques and whatnot. So when I do that, it appears as spiritual from a normal person's point of view, but from a jnani or a viveki or a mumukshu, a person who is desirous of liberation, the person who is desirous of the ultimate happiness, for that, from that person's point of view, this so-called spiritual happiness is also material happiness. That is why they say, for studying Vedanta, I need to have dispassion towards the experience or pleasures of even Brahmaloka. There is a statement like that. The Brahmaloka means, let us put it in one word, heaven. All the heavenly pleasures that can be obtained through spiritual tech after death, that also one should, whatever is promised in the scriptures. We can put Hindu scripture, Muslim scripture, Christian scripture, Buddhist scripture, all scriptures, what all the supernatural claims that we have in scriptures, whatever is time bound, whatever is obtained after an effort, after a certain point of time, in a different dimension or in the same dimension where we are, all of that can be dismissed in one category as material happiness. So it is material materialism or spiritual materialism. And then I am ready to go into the whole process that keeps me stuck in the pattern. Then I try to see what is my true nature. Then I try to analyze, and that's what the entire yoga and Vedanta process called nivritti dharma. So the person who wants happiness from situations, things, people, and different conditions of body, mind, etc., is pravritti dharma. The person who is done with that, he has seen through the limitation of it all, says, okay, fine, there is no permanent happiness here. So I only want what is unconditioned, uncaused, and eternal. I am interested only in that. I am not interested in any of this. Like how in Katha Upanishad, there is a story of this little boy who wants self-knowledge, and he rejects everything. Lord Yama offers all kinds of things, and he rejects everything. And seeing this boy's vairagya, and he's absolutely choiceless. He says there is no point in any of that if all this is not going to last. So I want only that which will last, that which is permanent, only that. And then Lord Yama gives the Atma Vidya teaching to Nachiketas. That is the content of, that's the story behind Katha Upanishad. That is also available. You can read, it's all there. So, so this person is done. It's done with all experiential happiness. And so he comes to the happiness that is in the form of knowledge of the self. That is one's own true nature, which need not be attained. And it is a happiness that is already attained. Other than that, so the person who is ready for this, who is done with all experiential happiness, takes to being completely available for the true last in the true immortal eternal happiness, which is one's own nature. That person is taking to what that approach is called nivritti dharma, not no vritti dharma. It's a withdrawal back to the source, nivritti dharma, right? The path of renunciation. Then you have pravritti dharma. So I am always finding better and better ways and smarter ways to be happy. So I am understanding how this experiential happiness works and how things work. how my body mind works. It's like a person who is developing a, suppose if you are if you are somebody who enjoys mountain climbing, like trekking and mountain climbing, then you go through the fitness process and all that. So you enjoy a certain level of fit body, you do the exercises, you take care of your nutrition, you take care of your tissues and all that, and you analyze the seasons. So you choose the right season, the right nature, the right place, and you gather the right resources, and you meticulously plan, and then you are able to have a beautiful mountaineering experience, right? So a person becomes more and more conscious and smart and works on increasing the sattva, rajas, tamas, the correct combination required in the body and the mind and in the conditions surrounding one, and works for that, and then enjoys a material happiness. That person is in the path of pravritti dharma. So I need to understand the dharma of a situation in order to enjoy that pursuit, enjoy the results properly. And that is dependent on my understanding of sattva, rajas, tamas, and then the different laws that work in nature, and the dharma of a situation, and the dharma connected to the pursuit, so that I am able to have a relatively more long lasting happiness. Pravritti dharma or nivritti dharma. You say, I don't have any discrimination, I am very motivated by a lot of things around me. Then until my discrimination awakens, I go through the path of understanding better and better, developing a better and better understanding of dharma in order to enjoy a great life, that is giving me, where I maximize happy experiences and minimize unhappy experiences. That's all can be said. You cannot eliminate unhappy experiences. And maybe when I am going through a difficult time, when I'm going through an unhappy experience, when I'm going through a struggle, you know my like all these positive thinking books and all, they tell you, self-help books tell you, my commitment to that happy experience, the meaningfulness, that happy experience I'm going to have, what I'm striving towards, the meaningfulness and the thinking of the joy in that, that sustains me and helps me go through this. And I have a philosophical attitude, okay, life is like this, I have to go through this process in order to enjoy that. And so I develop a more mature attitude toward the struggles and the process that is involved and the trouble that is involved, in order to make that happy experience possible. you know I am happy to do that tough exercise, because I am thinking about the great fitness I'm going to have tomorrow, or after next week, when I'm doing that mountaineering, the great experience I'm going to have. So summer, all these these people who are going to beaches, they want to look good in the swimsuit, so they go through a lot of diet, they go through a lot of workout and all that. And some men want to show six packs, women want to get rid of cellulite and whatnot and all that. So they go through a lot of treatments. The whole process is extremely painful, but they're constantly thinking how good they're going to look in that beach. Then they go through the whole process that keeps them through that. They remember that, they go through that, and then they're able to go and have a nice experience. It lasts for a few days, then you come back, and then the whole process starts again. So they don't know anything more than this, they know only this. And they don't go deep. These superficial materialistic people, when they are very very caught up in materialistic things, one of the things I have seen them do is they don't allow a very deep discussion. They shy away from a deep discussion. You start questioning certain basics, they will run away from. Superficial people are like that. Hey, why are you asking all that? Come on, man, just enjoy, have fun, please. You don't dig too much, then you cannot have fun. It's very disturbing. You are, hey, I'm going home, I can't deal with all that, and then they go away. So that's a certain kind of intellectual tamas. It's all right, it's all right. I'm not saying, but we have to wait. Those people, it takes time for them until some discrimination kicks in, some God's grace, some Guru's grace, all that, whatever past punya kicks in. Then probably they will start looking for some. It goes on for some time, as long as the youth and the restlessness is lasts. As long as they're youthful, the body is cooperating, things are cooperating, as long as there is money flowing and all that. The superficial life will go on for some time. But God's grace usually comes for these people in form of some trouble, and then the mind start thinking about the basics if they are lucky enough. Otherwise they get depressed, commit suicide and all that. The unlucky ones, the lucky ones, lucky means those who have better punya are lucky, those who have less punya and more papa are unlucky. So if the person in a challenging situation tries to think and become philosophical and probe into the cause of suffering and all that, and goes through the process, or gets the right guidance, gets the right exposure, satsanga, etc., that person has some grace in the form of punya. So they can go through that and they can go to the next level to see what is more lasting. At least they can come to dharma. From adharmic pleasures and happiness, where the happiness experiences are not sustainable, where the struggle component is more, the pain is more, the side effects are more for whatever you are enjoying. From there, they have to come to dharmic enjoyment. From adharmic enjoyment, the first transition usually happens to dharmic enjoyment. So, how a person comes from pravritti to nivritti is this process. This we will probably discuss in the next class because it's almost time now. Uh, it's The spectrum goes like this. They start, usually it goes from asuric nature to daiva, sura nature. From demonic nature to divine nature. And in this spectrum, as they go more and more towards the divine nature, cultivate the divine nature, which means moving from adharmic pleasures and adharmic methods and quality of happiness, moving from more tamasic forms of happiness, gradually progressing towards sattvic experiential happiness. Tamasic experiential happiness to rajasic experiential happiness to sattvic experiential happiness, associated with demonic nature, a little slowly cultivating the divine qualities and becoming predominantly divine nature and less asuric nature, demonic nature. And arriving at this, the person gradually improves the quality of happy experiences in their life, quality and quantity of happy experiences. And there is a point where, as the person lives more and more dharmic, as the person increases and improves in the divine qualities, over a period of many lifetimes, one fine morning, this discrimination kicks in. And then the person starts inquiring about the self, and there begins Nivritti Marga, which is the path towards the eternal, which is the path away from the phenomenal towards the eternal. Yeah. So this is the whole spectrum. So we will we had the overview now, the difference between pravritti and nivritti, and the difference between eternal happiness and experiential happiness. So how to improve experiential happiness, the various aspects of it, and how to take care of certain things, and what are the different uh, pointers that we have, maybe a little bit more of that with some everyday examples and question and answers. We can probe that in our next class. As for what we have discussed now today, if you have any questions, I will entertain one or two questions. If there are no questions, I will finish the class. I will wait for 1 minute. Within a minute, whoever has questions, supposed to raise your hand or put it in the chat or unmute yourself and talk. Okay. Looks like there are no questions. So we will continue this inquiry into happiness, and not the eternal happiness that is the subject of Vedanta. We will come to that. But before we go into that, we'll inquire into the nature of experiential happiness and how to have a better, more happy life based on spiritual principles in the next class. But all our scriptures are based on the quest for Bhagavad Gita, everything, go Sankhya, everything is going into the source of unhappiness and how to be free from unhappiness, how to be free from sorrow, how to be free from pain. Bhagavad Gita begins with Nanu Sochanti Panditaha. The knowers do not worry about these things. Then it ends with Masucha Aham Tva Sarva Pepyo Mokshayishyami Masucha. Do not worry. The whole thing is like that. Start Sankhya, it starts about Dukkhatraya Abhigata, the one who desires to become free from the three kinds of sufferings, inquires into the way in which to end that suffering, like that. No? Same thing. Everywhere you go, it is the same thing. So because that is the most fundamental quest in human being. Yeah. So with that, I will finish the class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.